All right, what is up, everybody? Happy Memorial Day. Welcome back to the According to Sources Football Podcast. I'm Alex Burns, joined as always by TJ Striano. TJ, do you have any plans for Memorial Day?
No, we were planning on trying to do something, and it's absolutely gross out in South Florida.
It's awful. Yep, same here. I really wanted to grill some steaks and hang out with my family, but it is, I don't think it's rained harder in the past couple months here, so probably not going to be a
Terrible.
no-go for us, but it's nice to hang out with family and enjoy the day off. But we get to talk some football. That's what I'm excited
Yeah,
for.
me too.
We've got a lot of stuff to talk about, some rapid fire. It was kind of a slow week in the NFL as far as, things that would affect the field or this upcoming season. But a lot of cool stories that kind of happened throughout the week just pertaining to NFL players or funny rumors, and especially Eli Manning joining Twitter. That was the highlight of my Sunday,
Yes.
watching him live tweet that golf tournament that we had going on yesterday. Before we jump in, though, make sure to follow us on Twitter at Alex Burns Hoops and at TJ Striano. And then also our football podcast, According to Sources, we have our own Twitter page too, so you can follow us on there. It's ATS Football Pod. We'll put everything in the description so you can join right in. But without further ado, let's jump into some rapid fire. Biggest storyline, in my opinion, this week was Dak Prescott turning down a $175 million deal. What in
Yeah.
the world's happening? What are your thoughts on that? Make some sense of this.
Yeah. So I have my real opinion, and I have my opinion that's like altered by the reality of the NFL. My real opinion is he's not worth that much money. He should have taken that contract. My opinion that's altered by the reality of the NFL is like every time a decent quarterback gets free agency, they reset the market. He's already resetting the market at that price. I don't know what he's looking for when he's trying to get more.
Yeah, very true. And I tweeted this a couple days ago, but my question is just who's advising him on this? That $175 million a year, I believe it was 4 years. That's a crazy deal. 5 years. That's a crazy deal. And then it comes
Yeah.
out after he declined it and he wants north of 45+ million a year. Listen, I think Dak is a good quarterback. I'm probably higher on Dak than you are because I'm not a Giants fan. But let's be real. The offense has been stacked with weapons. It's been an elite offensive line ever since he took over.
Yeah.
He's had a lot of weapons, whether it's Des Bryant, whether it's Amari Cooper. Now you're adding CeeDee Lamb. He's had Ezekiel Elliott in the backfield to take attention away. I'm not saying that anybody could put up numbers in that offense because, obviously you have to have some sort of competency. But Andy Dalton is right behind him, and I don't think Jerry Jones would be afraid to, if Dak is really going to stand on his request and really want more money. Andy Dalton's a competent quarterback, don't you think?
Yeah, we talked about this a couple episodes ago. That like I genuinely believe that Andy Dalton could put up at least close to what Dak is putting up, if not more numbers
Yeah,
than Dak's put up. Because I can't remember the exact numbers, but through the first 4 seasons of their careers, their numbers are identical, and they actually favor Andy Dalton.
yeah,
So you give Dalton the weapons that Dak has had, I think he could easily match the production.
yeah. And it's interesting with Dalton, too, now that I'm just thinking about it, because, he's no slouch at quarterback. He's not, top 5, top 10 quarterback in the NFL, but he's a starting caliber quarterback
Yep.
who's put up solid numbers through his career so far. I think there's multiple teams he could have been the starter this year, and it's interesting that he chose to sign a one-year deal with Dallas, especially with COVID-19 going on, all the stuff that's happening. He's from Dallas. It sounds like to me he just kind of wanted to have a year in a year of uncertainty where he was just at home, could just get paid, have a nice have a nice 1 year salary,
Yeah.
and possibly go somewhere else next year. But if this Dak situation, if he doesn't really come to his senses and he continues to want more money, I don't think Jerry Jones is paying him that north of 45 million a year.
No.
Dalton might get a shot
Yeah.
taking over if Dak holds out.
I could see Dalton approaching this contract in like one of two ways. He's either doing the Teddy Bridgewater route, where he's like, I'm gonna sign a 1 year deal, maybe play like 3 or 4 games, show that I still got it,
Yeah,
and then dip. Or he's betting on Dak not playing, like returning because he doesn't want to sign the contract, and he's like, this is gonna become my team.
yeah,
I'm gonna put up good numbers and play a lot cheaper than Dak's gonna play,
yeah.
and I'll get
And
the
then
good
in
one in town.
next year's offseason, he's going to request north of $45 million a year. Every quarterback in the Dallas offense wants money. Yeah, I think it's crazy. I don't think Jerry Jones is going to pay him.
I don't
Um,
either.
But it's hey, good for him trying to get paid. He's definitely a good quarterback. He deserves to reset the market or be somewhere around it, but just he's pushing too much. So
Yeah, exactly.
next thing we have is Carlos Hyde. He signed with the Seattle Seahawks. Kind of an interesting signing. Carlos Hyde, I feel like, is one of those running backs every year that he just latches on with a team on a one-year deal and just caps the fantasy upside for whoever running back is, the main guy in that city or for that team. What are your thoughts on this signing?
Yeah, I like it. It's going to be a solid upside signing for them. He, like you said, he's just solid, and he kind of caps the fantasy side, but I think he also improves the overall running game of whatever team he goes to. The thing I found really interesting about the signing was every report was saying that they signed him and they were interested in Devontae Freeman in case Rashad Penny wasn't ready for week one, not in case Chris Carson wasn't ready. So to me, it kind of signals what I was talking about last week about how I think Rashad Penny is going to steal the backfield, show he was worth that number one pick this year. And I think Seattle's kind of betting on that too.
Yeah. It's a weird backfield. And from a fantasy perspective, as much as I hate it because I like Chris Carson, if you think about towards the end of last year before both running backs got hurt, Penny was becoming more involved because Carson has a fumble issues and he couldn't hold on to the ball. And so they were including Penny a little bit more. And now if Penny's not going to be ready, I know I've heard some stuff saying he's going to begin the year on PUP, possibly. I mean, you could have Carlos Hyde and Chris Carson, taking over as the two lead running backs in this offense.
Yeah.
I don't know. We got to wait to see if Chris Carson will be healthy, but I think what this actually does point to is I think Carlos Hyde is there for stability, like what you alluded to. He's a competent running back, but I think the Seahawks might be passing a little bit more in 2020.
I hope so. Yeah. Russ deserves it.
He definitely deserves it, and that also means a big bump for DK Metcalf, who I'm excited to watch. I like him a lot. But yeah, it'll be interesting. And there's also been rumors about Marshawn Lynch, his agent reaching out to the Seahawks. I think they're done with that probably. But yeah, it should bolster a little bit of competence in the running back position in Seattle. Do you have anything else you want to add on that?
Yeah, the only other thing I would say is all the Miami Hurricanes fans that were hoping for Travis Homer to get a roster spot. I think this kind of signals that he's getting cut.
We also have DJ Dallas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also have DJ Dallas, which is a fellow Miami Hurricane graduate. So it'll be interesting. I know a lot of people, they didn't expect the Seahawks to really go out and draft a running back. And then when they kind of passed in the first couple rounds, everybody's like, they're going to roll with Carson and Penny. They must be healthy. And then they snagged Dallas. I think it was in the fourth round, was it?
Something like that. It was day 3 for sure.
Fourth round. I think he'll be on the roster. I think he'll be one of those guys that kind of mixes in on passing downs, especially if Penny is, unable to play or is limited. So,
yeah,
it'll be nice. I'm excited about the Seahawks team. They were in the NFC West topic that we talked on last week, which is going to be a very competitive division. So Russell Wilson might have to carry that team in 2020.
Yeah, it'll be exciting if he does.
Yeah. Next thing on our list, Jamal Adams. Crazy. We've talked about him a couple times in the first couple weeks of this podcast, and it was all rumors and just about how the Jets might be looking to trade him, and then it kind of just was quieted down, and now it's picking back up. There's some traction, on those rumors again. They might be putting him on the trading block. I know you're a huge Jamal Adams fan, and your whole take, and I think it was the first week of our podcast, where you were extremely happy that you have Ashtyn Davis and Jamal Adams lined up as your safeties, and it really allows flexibility for your defense.
Yeah.
What are they thinking? I mean, what is Adam Gase thinking?
Yeah. Adam Gase is just crazy. That's all I have to say about that. He's kind of like Bill O'Brien. How Bill O'Brien just if I don't agree with you or I don't like you, you're gone.
Yep.
And if I can't get rid of you, I'm going to lower your touches. And I think that's kind of what he's doing with Adams. He's trying to get rid of him because he's like him. He drafted a free safety. Marcus May is probably better suited for strong safety anyway. So basically he's kind of signaling we want to get rid of you, but we you're good, so we're going to keep you either way. It's so dumb. So dumb.
Yeah. Jamal Adams is one of the I mean, it just goes without saying, he's one of the best young players on defense in the NFL. I would gladly have him on my team. It's probably going to be a super high price, but it just points back to Adam Gase being an idiot, like always. Yeah.
The thing that's going to be interesting is going to be the trade compensation for him.
Yeah.
I saw John Ledyard over from Pewter Report talking about it, and he's easily a top 5 or 10 safety in the NFL. easily super valuable for what he does. He's like, but what he does isn't that valuable in the grand scheme of the NFL
Uh-huh.
because he's not in a like sideline to sideline free safety. So he's
Yeah.
like, is there going to be a team that's willing to give up a first round plus for him?
I think so. I don't
I
think
did
it's going
too.
to be multiple. I think so. I just think because of his age and he's so young and he has so much potential and he's shown so much in a couple of short years. That's why I think a team's going to just jump on it, especially a team that I want to say is in kind of win now mode and just needs to shore up a couple positions on their defense.
Yeah,
Would love to add Jamal Adams. So
I agree.
yeah. Moving on. Next thing, and I'm excited to talk about this. We're going to kind of move from some stuff that will affect 2020, the 2020 NFL season, and some off the field stuff. And what I have right here is the Devontae Parker and Michael Thomas Twitter beef.
Yes.
I love this. As a Dolphin fan and as somebody who has been a Devontae Parker fan and has been waiting for him to finally be unleashed for, 4 years, I'm passionate about this topic. And if you don't know what we're talking about, I guess there was some Instagram post that said, it gave a couple options, and it was just like, hey, comment who would be the tougher matchup, A or B. And I think A was like defending Michael Thomas or something. And then B was like catching a touchdown or trying to catch a pass on Stephon Gilmore. Maybe I butchered
Yeah.
that. Was that what it was?
I think it was like try to break up a pass from Michael Thomas, and then I think you were right about the Gilmore one.
Stephon Gilmore. And so I guess Devontae Parker, I don't think he was like trying to take shots. I think he was just honest, answering honestly. He picked B. So he picked that it would be harder to catch a pass on Stephon Gilmore than it would be to break up a pass on Michael Thomas. And I guess Thomas took it personal, went to Twitter, and a huge beef started going on between both of them. And Thomas was stating that Parker's not on his level, and it's just this insane fight. Do you want to go first?
Yeah.
Because I want to save mine for last.
Yeah, I just wanted to go first because we texted about this a little bit after it happened, and Devontae Parker obviously isn't Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas has been insane, great player. He's very easily become like one of the most unlikable players off the field though this offseason. And the thing that like annoys me about this the most is he's getting so upset about Devontae Parker saying that without any intention behind it and saying that he can't like hold his jockstrap kind of thing. But Michael Thomas and Devontae Parker have not been that far behind each other since Adam Gase left Miami.
No.
They have been like almost identical stats wise.
Not at all.
Thomas has done it a lot longer, and he's like doesn't drop any passes, catches well over 100 balls every season.
Yeah.
But Parker has been a beast since Adam Gase left Miami. So you can't just say he can't hold his jockstrap like that.
I mean, two players that could have had more opposite starts to their NFL career. I mean, one in Thomas was drafted into one of the most high-powered, efficient offensive systems with a Hall of Fame quarterback who is also the most accurate quarterback in NFL history, throwing him the football.
Exactly.
While being schemed up by one of the best offensive minds in football in Sean Payton. And then you have Devontae Parker drafted, was it Adam? Yeah, Adam Gase drafted him in 2016, who we just got done saying he's an idiot. He's one of the worst coaches in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And he's had like a whole plethora of quarterbacks. Josh Rosen, Ryan Fitzpatrick. He had Ryan Tannehill. There's just been so much inconsistency. Jay Cutler. Yeah, I'll even say
Matt
Jay
Moore.
Cutler. Matt Moore. Literally, there's been so much inconsistency there in the quarterback position in Miami. And last year, with Adam Gase gone and with Ryan Fitzpatrick, who is a very competent quarterback, Devontae Parker put up numbers. And like, I'm not trying to say at all that Michael Thomas is better or is not as good as Devontae Parker or Parker's better. Obviously, Michael Thomas is one of the best receivers in the game of football.
Yeah.
And I this is not for the sake of this argument, but just interesting. Did you see the stat? I'm gonna butcher this. That said, if you take off all of Michael Thomas's catches from like behind the line of scrimmage or on the line of scrimmage, I think his last year stats, he had like 15 catches or something.
Yeah, I can't remember what the stat was, but it skewed it so bad if you took away all the slants and drags and stuff like that.
Yeah. It was something like 12 catches, like 25 yards, and like a touchdown or something.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, whoa. Like, that doesn't, I mean, that's not for the sake of this argument or this debate and who's better or whatever. Obviously, Michael Thomas, if you're drafting a team right now, you're selecting Thomas as a receiver over Parker. But, I mean, listen, to your point, Parker's in that conversation when he has competent coaching and a competent, quarterback system, and he
Yeah.
showed that last year. It'll be interesting to see what he can do in year two under Flores, and especially with, Chad O'Shea, the offensive coordinator, getting
Yeah.
fired. Which, by the way, let's segue into that because it goes hand in hand with Devontae Parker.
Yeah.
Chad O'Shea fired his Dolphins offensive coordinator for attempting to install the Patriots' offensive system, the confusing, the highly interesting. What's some adjectives you'd use to describe the Patriot system? Something
Yeah.
came from Bill Belichick.
Yeah, I think anything coming from Bill Belichick is probably complex and
Complex, yes.
multi-versatile, multifaceted, tons of variety. And doing that on a roster so young, like the Dolphins, is just not a good idea. And I heard Flores was like, no, this is not happening. We can't do this with this roster yet. And then O'Shea tried doing it anyways.
Yeah,
And that's why he's gone, even though he looked like a decent coordinator last year.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Belichick and Brady, obviously, they were together for like 20 years, just under 20 years. But and some of those receivers they had on their roster, I mean, with the exception of last year when they had N'Keal Carey, and probably 2013 when they had those years with, I think it was Aaron Dobson and it was Kembrell Tompkins. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh my
That was
gosh, yes.
remember that? That was when they had all those young receivers. For the most part, Brady and Belichick have had pretty, solid receiving weapons that have been veterans, can understand complex systems. Yeah, it's just not going to work on the, Dolphins' young roster.
Yeah. And even just ignoring who the receivers were, they always loved the running backs and the tight ends in New England anyways. So you can have a wide receiver walk in out of Walmart like they literally did basically and learn the system because he's not going to get many targets anyways.
Exactly. And it's interesting to note, too, I don't know if this really makes sense, but it's something that I just thought of. Usually rookie receivers tend to struggle in that system. I mean, rookie receivers tend to struggle in their first couple years anyways, until they kind of get adjusted. But if you think about the Patriot system over the past couple years, like Mike Mitchell, or what's his name? Malcolm Mitchell, excuse me. He had an okay rookie year, and I don't think he's in the NFL anymore. And then you have, guys like we mentioned, Kembrell Tompkins, Aaron Dobson, and just people, young receivers in this offense, they really don't seem to enter that, I don't want to say elite, but just solid tier starter. They kind of either move on or, their careers kind of fizzle out. It's usually the veterans that really produce in this offense, whether it's...
He's out of the NFL now.
Yeah, I actually thought about him the other day. Malcolm Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
I thought about him the other day, and I was like, what happened to him? He was good. He was a solid rookie. And Googled him, and he's out of the NFL.
Yeah, I forgot about him. He had a pretty decent year. So his career stats were 400 yards and 4 touchdowns.
All in 1 year.
Yeah.
As a rookie.
And then he had an injury his second year, and then after that, he was just out of the NFL.
If you think about it, you have obviously Randy Moss was already accomplished when he came there. What?
He had retired in 2019.
So
he came
in
it
was shocking.
In 2016 and retired in 2019.
But I think they released him after his rookie year or after his second year or something. They released him, and then he just kind of decided to call it quits.
He was cut going into the 2018 season, before preseason, and then retired in March.
Yeah. So
it looked like he was trying to play.
Yeah. Who knows what happened? But the receivers that have been productive: Deion Branch, veteran. Randy Moss, veteran. Julian Edelman, veteran. Brandon LaFell. They're all aged receivers who can handle that system and can learn it and produce.
And usually it's players they bring in from other teams too, not usually people they draft or sign as UDFAs or something like that.
Very true. Anything else on this?
No, I think that's all I got for that. It's very interesting that he thought he could just not listen to his head coach and keep his job though.
Yeah, and as a Dolphin fan, I love that Flores is taking control of his locker room. I think it's something that Dolphins have lacked in years past, true leadership. Joe Philbin didn't do that. Adam Gase is on crack. We didn't have that kind of dominant presence in the locker room. I just feel like I don't know. I love Brian Flores and I love what he's doing, the culture that he's bringing to Miami. So it'll be good. Moving on, this is exciting. The NFL proposed some new onside kick rules that will be possibly taking shape. They're going to be voting on it to see what people think. Do you want to explain what that is?
Yeah, so basically, instead of doing an onside kick, you just go for it on 4th and 15, which would be so much fun and so much entertainment. But the thing that's crazy is the Chiefs will basically do it every single time.
Every time.
And I think somebody like mentioned that to the people who proposed the change because they changed it from like that's what an onside kick is to you can do that twice a game.
Yeah.
So I think somebody pointed out like, well, the teams with top 5 quarterbacks are going to complete that pass every single time.
So, did you say you can only do it twice a game?
Yeah, that's the new. They like made a change to it since the original proposal.
Okay. So it's not like every single time you score, you can just go 4th and 15 and do an onside kick.
Yeah, I saw Pat McAfee talking about that, and I think it was either right after the proposal change or it was before, and he was like, the Chiefs are going to go up 50-0 at halftime and bench their starters for the second half of every game.
Insane. And I don't even know what the stat was, but I saw what Patrick Mahomes was on 3rd and 15 in the regular. It was like he was like 14 of 26, 250 yards, and he had like 3 touchdowns, and it was just very efficient. So
Yeah,
I mean, you're gonna get 15 yards every single time they try and do that.
yeah. Pat McAfee actually even said it was like his own fault that it happened because he was like so successful at converting onside kicks in his career, and then he retired, and then the rules changed, so like nobody converts it anymore.
I do like the NFL is trying to think outside the box here, and try and add a couple things that might spice up some fun, but which is not typical for the NFL. So it's nice to see that happening. But we'll see what happens. Could be a really big effect on the way some games end, honestly.
Yeah.
And the excitement, because I mean onside kicks are fun too, but especially watching Patrick Mahomes on a 4th and 15 to try and get his team in possession again would be fun as well. So who knows?
Yeah.
Moving on to number 6. Number 6 thing we're going to talk about. Thought was kind of interesting. Who knows if it's true or not? But there's been some rumors this week about LeBron James possibly going to the NFL during the 2011 NBA lockout. Apparently, the report said that he was training and started to get into NFL shape, and then I guess he was going to sign a contract with Jerry Jones and the Cowboys to be receiver or tight end. I'm not really sure where you'd put LeBron, but probably one of those two positions. I don't really have a take on it, but all I know is a 6'8", 270 wide receiver would absolutely terrify me.
Yeah. Apparently he was like an all-state receiver in high school. But like I can't see him playing receiver in the NFL. I can see him playing tight end and being like the next Gronk, which would be insane. But yeah, I saw Cam Jordan tweet about it, and he was like, "I'm gonna break that body you're so proud of if you ever try this."
Is LeBron the best athlete you've ever seen?
Athlete alone, I would say yeah. Like yeah, that, or he could be like a Calais Campbell clone, because I think they're like the exact same size.
Dude,
I'm gonna look it up now.
I kind of wish we got that. Now that we're talking about it, I kind of wish that we ended up getting. And listen, that's a lot for me to say because I'm a huge Heat fan, and he had just signed with the Heat coming into 2011 season. So if he would have went to the NFL, who knows if what would have happened. But that'd be crazy to watch LeBron James line up on either side of the ball. Just 6'8", 270. Calais Campbell. To your point, Calais Campbell is absolutely massive.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
I don't know if this is like completely accurate measurements because it's from Wikipedia. LeBron's listed at 6'9", 250. Calais is listed. You ready for this? Calais is listed at 6'8", 300.
Oh my gosh.
LeBron could easily put on like 30 pounds and stay super athletic and just wreak havoc on the line with good coaching.
Dude, I went to the Dolphins-Jaguars preseason game last year, and it was a game when it was like week 3 when all the starters played the first half. And I remember when the Jaguars ran out, Calais Campbell kind of came over to our section, and I was like in the end zone, and he came over to our section and just like mean bugged the whole crowd. I swear on my life, he is the biggest human I've ever seen in my entire life. I almost became a Jags fan just because I was afraid he was gonna kill me. And I just wanted to act like I was. I don't think I was wearing a Dolphin jersey, but I was like, yeah, awesome, go Jags. Like he mean mugged me and my whole section, and we were like 10 feet away from him, and it was terrifying.
Yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit more whenever we do the AFC North, but I'm super excited for him to be in Baltimore.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a whole other conversation, but he's really gonna change that defense. He's amazing. He's somebody like we talked about Chandler Jones last podcast. Just one of those underrated, linemen that
Yeah.
always is, up in, the leading of sacks every single year, but really doesn't get that much recognition. It's not like Aaron
Yeah.
Donald or Khalil Mack or things like that, but definitely really good.
Yeah. Maybe it's just an Arizona thing because he was in Arizona before he went to Jacksonville.
True. True. That is, yeah. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's. Um, who knows? I mean, Baltimore always has a strong defense. The fact
Yeah.
they added him, we should talk about. We should save it for the other time because I'm gonna get wrapped up in Calais Campbell.
Yeah. Now I want to talk about the Ravens, so let's move on.
Yeah, a couple other interesting things. This probably has more of an impact on the season. Is Aldon Smith was reinstated? He was suspended a little bit. Obviously, going to be huge for the Cowboys' defensive line. Putting him with Smith and Demarcus Lawrence and all kinds of stuff. So, do you have any
Yeah.
takes on that?
As a Giants fan, I'm scared. As an NFL fan, I like it because he was just so dominant when he did play
Yeah,
before his terrorist attacks and all the other things he did wrong. But dude had 47 and a half sacks in basically 3 years
yeah,
because he had like 2 years where he played like 5 games.
yeah, which is insane. And we'll talk about this a little later because we're doing the NFC East breakdown and preview, and so the Cowboys are in there. But I didn't even know they added Gerald McCoy in the offseason.
Yep.
One of those things went on the radar. So Gerald McCoy, Aldon Smith, Demarcus
Terry
Lawrence,
Poe.
I mean, they're going to have a stacked defensive line this year.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about it just because, like, again, as an NFL fan, I like what they did, but I'm a Giants fan, so I'm scared.
yeah, yeah. Well, let's pick up the pace. Just a couple more things. We'll hit on it real fast, and we'll kind of get to the divisional preview of the NFL or NFC East. Excuse me. Another thing that happened this week: owners tabled the Rooney Rule suggestion. Any takes on that? We talked about that last week.
Yeah, we both basically kind of agreed it's going to lead to more like systematic racism than it is going to help anything. And there's going to become like token coaches that get jobs just because they want better draft picks.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they tabled it.
Yeah.
I'm really glad they tabled it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like I definitely applaud them for promoting equality. I just don't think that was the way to do it. There's
Yeah.
better more efficient ways to do that. So that was tabled. Moving on. Last week we talked about the Russell Wilson, and there was a rumor that the Seahawks were willing to trade him to the Browns for that number one pick in 2017, or was it 2018?
2018, I think.
2018. And now another rumor came out saying that if they were to trade and get that number one pick, they would have selected Josh Allen. So I thought it was interesting because I started thinking, all right, well, if that did happen, Josh Allen versus Baker Mayfield. And at first you're like, okay, it's probably not super close. Like most people would pick Baker Mayfield as their quarterback for their franchise. Then I started looking at the stats though, and I know Baker had an awful year. The whole team in Cleveland had an awful year. But it's not as far as we think. I think it's a closer matchup than really what meets the eye. So, just really quick, Baker or Josh Allen, who are you taking and why?
Taking Baker all day. Josh Allen, like, I don't think he's bad. I
Yeah,
don't think it's anything to do with like him being so much less competent of a quarterback than Baker. I think Baker is just a better leader,
mm-hmm.
and I feel like Baker would bring that like 12th man mentality that Seattle's always had to a whole new level.
Yeah,
Like, look what he did with Cleveland. Like, they've all like united around him more than I've ever seen them united around one of the quarterbacks they picked.
yeah.
Whereas Josh Allen's more of a quiet leader.
Hot take: I would take Josh Allen.
I don't think it's a
And
hot take.
I would I would take Josh Allen, and I think that he obviously Baker's a better passer than Josh Allen, but Josh Allen, his rushing ability and the upside that brings is insane. I was shocked to see that he had 17 rushing touchdowns in his first two seasons. He's had 8 and 9 respectively. That's insane. I think it'll be interesting this year to see kind of how he does as a passer. And now that he has John Brown and Stephon Diggs, and if Dawson Knox can take another step as a tight end, it'll be interesting. But I just think that Josh Allen is a good leader. He's definitely more quiet than Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield just in your face.
Yeah.
But I like Josh Allen, and I like the way he's developing. I think he's going to become an okay passer, a decent passer. He's not the most accurate right now, obviously, but I don't know. It's definitely close. I know there was a lot of people in that draft too that kind of debated whether or not Baker deserved to go number one, and I remember it kind of being not a surprise, but it wasn't like as much of a lock as Joe Burrow this year. It was just kind of like who's going to be the first pick in that draft. So I'm taking Allen.
Yeah, I don't think it was a wrong answer. I think Allen's asked to do a lot less than Baker is, schematically
Yeah.
speaking. So it's showing because they're basically like, hey, here's your 1 or 2 reads and then take off if you don't see anything.
Yeah.
Whereas Baker, they're asking him to do everything right now. But I'm sure
Yeah.
that'll change under Stefanski.
Yeah. And that'll be interesting too, because I listen. I'm always going to say this. I tweeted this week 2 of last season. Freddie Kitchens should not be calling plays. He completely schemed Baker Mayfield up the wrong way. Baker Mayfield was really good in Oklahoma with like short reads, quick RPOs, and just not as much as some of the other quarterbacks that are coming out now but just more of just a quick, fast-paced offense. And Kitchens just decided to make him do 5-step drops, and their offensive line was terrible. So it's like by the time he was hitting his fifth drop, there's people in his face. He's having to run and scramble out. It was just a mess last year.
I agree.
Play calling, everything. So it'll be interesting to see what Stefanski can do there. Last thing we jotted down. This is all for you, my friend. Eli Manning joins Twitter. Awesome. What do you think?
I think he's a better tweeter than he was an NFL quarterback, and I think he's a Hall of Fame lock as an NFL quarterback.
He definitely had some funny stuff. He did.
Yeah, and it's so cool seeing like fans of the NFL, not necessarily Giants fans, just like rally around his Twitter account, and it's like he doesn't miss shots, like he just hits everything, even when he's like doing sponsored tweets for Frank's Red Hot Sauce.
Yeah, I saw that. I think it's great too because as somebody who's not a Giants fan and who hasn't, obviously followed the Giants as close as you have, it's very interesting because I view Eli Manning as somebody who's very quiet. And we talked a little bit about that last week, but just somebody who's really quiet, not outspoken, definitely one of those quiet leaders. But seeing him join Twitter, it's just like he has a sense of humor and it's hilarious. And I've become a bigger fan of Eli Manning in the past day and a half.
Yeah, every former player says he was always the funniest guy in the locker room. He was always like the one who's like rallying the team and is making everybody laugh and have fun. I think he's just like he's a professional, just like Peyton is. So like when he's in front of people in a professional setting, that's who he is. But when he's just having fun on Twitter, he's gonna roast Tom Brady all day.
Yeah. It was definitely funny. Speaking of the Giants, we're going to move on now. That's it for our weekly rapid recap. But let's move on to our divisional preview. Last week we did the NFC West. Today we're going to do the NFC East. And then we're going to tackle the AFC in the next 2 podcasts as well. NFC East. This will be fun for you as a Giants fan. This is always a pretty interesting division every year, I feel like, just because there's like 3 competent teams, and then there's usually, the Redskins. I mean, I don't want to be rude. The Giants are kind of in that Redskins tier as of recent.
Yeah,
I would say.
I was gonna say like we've mostly been held back by coaching.
Yeah, I don't want to say I don't want to say you've been just a complete mess like that. Like either you've had injuries or coaching, but you haven't been like a consistent like playoff contender every single year.
That's true.
So it's usually been the Eagles and Cowboys has been the leaders of that. It could change this year, and it's super interesting. So we're going to kind of go through every single team and just kind of break down some additions, some some departures, and kind of what we think and what we'll expect from each team. So let's start with the Giants. Your team, take it away.
Yeah. Before we go into that, the fun thing about the NFC East too is like they always beat up on each other too.
Yeah.
So like the Redskins could be the worst team in the NFL, and the Cowboys could be the best team in the NFL, and the Redskins still have a good chance of beating the Cowboys every time they play.
Competitive. Yeah.
So it's a fun division because of that.
One of the more competitive divisions in football.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So notable things to start with would be the coaching staff moves the Giants made. Love the Joe Judge hiring. Love Jason Garrett coming in as OC. We talked about how he was an elite offensive coordinator in the past. I like bringing in Graham as defensive coordinator, having that versatile New England system. The 2 like kind of under the radar signings for the coaching staff that I think are going to be the biggest additions is Burton Burns. So for those unfamiliar with who that is, he's been the Alabama running back coach since basically Nick Saban got there and has pumped out NFL talent nonstop. And now he's going to be coaching Saquon Barkley. So it's going to be a huge addition for us. And then Mark Colombo to coach the offensive line. It's going to be massive differences. Even if we ignore the signings and the draft picks we got, just having a competent coach that's not Hal Hunter makes our whole line better.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have anything you want to add to
adding
that.
Andrew Thomas to that as well was your first pick. Yeah, that'll be good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the offseason moves wise, I like the moves we added. All of them, except for Bradbury, probably were all like low risk, high potential, high reward signings, like Blake Martinez, Kyler Fackrell. Kind of underrated, kind of hated on by Packers fans, and like kind of like not really well known across the NFL. But both of them had their best seasons under Patrick Graham. and both of them last year in Green Bay were asked to do things they weren't good at
Mm-hmm.
in that scheme. So like Fracco was a depth piece behind the Smith brothers and was asked to do a lot of coverage, where meanwhile he's actually like a pass rusher.
Mm-hmm.
And then Martinez is just a solid, like, I'm going to get a ton of tackles linebacker.
Huh.
And
I
then,
love Martinez.
yeah.
Yes. I love Martinez. I think Martinez is pretty good. I thought that was a good signing. But I agree with you on Fackrell too.
Yeah. Keep in Leonard Williams will be a good addition for our line as well. Cam Flanning's a low risk depth piece for the offensive tackle position that is familiar with Colombo and Garrett's scheme. So he's going to be helpful for that. Got a blocking tight end in Tulio, and then Bradbury. He's like a very underrated number one corner. Like he's not top 5 or 10 corner, but he's a true number one corner.
He's good.
And the thing I like about his signing is that he follows the number one receiver into the slot, which is what killed us last year. Is Baker or Jenkins would cover the number one receiver, and they move into the slot, and we'd have Grant Haley covering them. Yeah. So they would just eat Grant Haley up.
Yeah, and then you also have Jabril Peppers returning, who is going to be healthy. He was awesome last year.
Yeah.
It'll be big, year 2 Daniel Jones, obviously, to see that if he can take that next step. He was really impressive in 13 games as a rookie. I think the big question for the Giants is their health. If they can all stay healthy, I think they'll be good. Especially their offense, because they were all in and out of the lineup. We talked about that stat where all their main pieces, like their 5 or 6 main pieces, failed to play one snap together in 2019. So we'll see if they can be healthy. I did have a question for you, though. I want to see what you think about this.
Yeah.
I kind of got a question. I asked a question to somebody on Twitter, and he responded and stuff the other day about Evan Ingram. I love him. I think he's really talented. He's awesome. He's you can use him as a hybrid tight end kind of. I know he's taken a couple handoffs in his career so far. He's just been an interesting player. The new coaching staff, there was rumors they had him on the trading block during the draft, so it means they really might not be super high on him. Maybe I don't know if they want to, or maybe they think they can get some value out of him before he gets hurt again because he's been a little injury prone.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Do you think that'll affect his maybe the amount of targets he sees in 2020, or do you think they're going to trade him or going to roll with him?
Yeah, I think we talked about this already a little bit in one of the episodes, but I think they're just looking to see what value they get out of him. He's very good. They know he's very good. Jason Garrett loves using tight ends, so I think if they have him, they'll use him. But I think Caden Smith looked really good last year, so they're not afraid of losing him now.
Yeah.
So I think they're just trying to see if they can maybe get like a 2nd or 3rd round pick for him before he walks, or they have to extend him.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I'm a huge Evan Ingram fan. I think he's really talented, really, really unique in the way that he can be used. All in all, I know you had the Giants as a team that could possibly be a sleeper and sneak into the playoffs in the NFC East. I'm right there with you. I think if they can stay healthy, and if with this new coaching staff, if this offense can take the next step, you got some weapons on defense, some pretty good weapons. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Giants sneaking in the playoffs at all. And I'm excited to watch them. I'm excited to watch this team.
Yeah. Dave Gettleman did a good job attacking the spots of weaknesses in the draft in the offseason very heavily. And I think it's going to pay off, whether it's the low key signings he made or it's the draft class. Like I think Thomas McKinney are surefire starters, and I think all the linebackers they took late could develop potentially. At least one of them will develop, plus the signings. I think it's going to be good. Yeah.
Well, let's move on to your second favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys. Interesting team, as always. I feel like they're always competitive, and they always underwhelm. That's what I feel like they always do every year. Have a good roster, and they always just fall short. Whether it's not making the playoffs or even in the playoffs, they fall short. So it's clear they have talent on both sides of the ball this year, especially after adding firepower on offense and CeeDee Lamb, but then also signing some key free agents on defense, plus Aldon Smith, like we talked about, getting reinstated. I just think the question is, it's time for them to produce and win when it counts. There's really no excuse. Jason Garrett was fired, obviously now is with the Giants we just talked about, but Mike McCarthy, I don't know. I don't really have a huge take on Mike McCarthy. I don't really know what to expect. He's not the worst coach. I mean, a lot of the Packers, I feel like them going down and kind of starting to, fall off a little bit kind of coincided in Aaron Rodgers kind of, slowing down a little bit in his career. Whether or not that was McCarthy's fault, I don't know. But it will be interested for me. My big question for the Cowboys is it'll be Kellen Moore's second full year as OC. Obviously, he's been very impressive. And I want to see how that relationship with Mike McCarthy is going to work. how those two will coexist. So that's my big
Yeah.
question. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think they're either going to be held back from the playoffs by the coaching staff, like you're kind of touching on a little bit, or
Mm-hmm.
just with how much the rest of the division improved. Because they did a lot to improve too, but they also had a lot of big losses this year. Like
Uh-huh.
they lost Travis Frederick, they lost Robert Quinn, they lost Randall Cobb, they lost like all of their O-line depth,
Uh-huh.
and they lost Byron Jones most notably. So like that's a
Yep.
lot of big losses. But they did have a really good offseason. They added Jared McCoy and Don Terry Poe, like we talked about earlier.
Yep.
They added HaHa Clinton Dix. They added Alden Smith. They added Dalton and Worley for depth. And then their draft class was insanely good.
Yeah.
Like they got 1, 2, 3 for sure starters, in my opinion, maybe 4 for sure starters, with 2 players who would definitely contribute outside of that. They're going to be good. It's scary.
Yeah. And we talked a lot about the Cowboys, I feel like, in the first 3 episodes of this podcast, just because they've been in the news a lot. It'll be interesting to see, if Dak signs and, if they franchise tag him for another year and, what happens with that. But there's no question, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, should be pretty good. It'll be interesting to see how effective their tight ends are because I know, Jason Witten is now in Oakland, or Las Vegas, excuse me. I don't know. Something that I think we don't really talk about is Leighton Vander Esch. Very good linebacker. Missed the rest of last season in the middle. He injured his neck or something, and I forgot what week it was last year. Missed the rest of the season. Apparently he's on track to return, be fully healthy for the 2020 season. So, he was really good when he's healthy. So you're adding him, in that linebacking core along with Jalen Smith, and then you also have, like we talked about, a dominant defensive line. They could be a really good defense in 2020. So that'd be something to watch out for.
Yeah, kind of touching on what you just talked about with the tight ends and the D-line. They signed Lunda Wells, who is the Giants tight end coach, who is like a very well-respected tight end coach in the league, and he's part of the reason why Evan Engram was good and Caden Smith flashed so much last year was his coaching. And then on the D-line, they signed Jim Tomolsa, who many of you may not be familiar with him, but he was the interim head coach, I want to say, in San Fran after Harbaugh left.
Yeah, Jim Tomsula?
Yeah.
Yep.
And he was the D-line coach there before that, and he developed lots of good D-line players for them. So I think the talent he has there is going to be really easy to work with for him.
Speaking back to tight ends, is it going to be Blake Jarwin season?
I think so. He looked pretty good last year. Genuinely.
Who is that tight end they had? Dude. Oh, yes. So it was like, I remember when you were getting married, we had your, it was like your wedding party. I forgot what you call it.
Bachelor party?
No, it was like the night before the wedding.
Oh, rehearsal dinner.
Yeah, rehearsal dinner. We were over at your parents' house. It was super fun. It was awesome. And I remember we left because you guys, you spent the night, hung out with your family that night, rightfully so. We went back to our apartment, a lot of our friends, and we watched the preseason game of the Cardinals and Cowboys. And I remember the Cowboys had this tight end, Rico Gathers or something.
Oh, yeah, the basketball player.
Dude, and he was good. I think he caught this jump ball touchdown in the back of the end zone in that game. And we were all like, oh, he's going to be the next, when Jason Witten's gone, he's going to be the next tight end. He's going to be crazy. I think he's like 6'8" or 6'7" or something. He's huge. And so I just thought of that. I remember we all thought it was going to be Rico Gathers season. And I don't even know where he's at right now.
Yeah,
so,
I want to say he's in Arizona now, but he ended up not doing anything.
Yeah. You know who he reminds me of? And it's so easy for me to get off topic if I say this name right now because you're going to talk about this for like 25 minutes. Dorial Green Beckham.
Oh, I love Dorial Green Beckham.
That was like your Madden 16 or 17 Randy Moss.
Yeah. He was in Madden, he was so great. He was like 6'5", 220, and for whatever reason in Madden, he had like a 93 speed.
It was
so the dude was like a freaking weapon.
It was a cheat code, and then it just did not reflect his play on the field. I mean, when he played and he got peppered with targets, the dude was freaking good. But
yeah,
I don't know what happened to him.
He was another one of those guys with a ton of like off the field issues.
Yeah,
and people just got tired of dealing with them.
He's like a Justin Blackman.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
except he got more chances.
It's very true. All right, let's move on to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
Won the Super Bowl in 2017. Very interesting. Obviously, the big question with them, as they've added a bunch of offensive talent, they've also lost a little bit of talent on the defensive side of the ball. They've added a ton of speed on offense. And they traded for Marquise Goodwin. They drafted Jalen Reagor. They have what's the guy's name? I forgot.
Deshaun Jackson.
Deshaun Jackson. So, I mean, they have a ton of speed. The big question, and whether it's his fault or not for his injuries, it'll be, can Wentz stay healthy
Yep.
with an improved offense? I mean, I think you could agree with me. Like, it's some of his injuries. It's really not been his fault. It's kind of fluky where he gets like slammed in the head or kneed in the head when he's going for a touchdown. I mean, it's not really. I wouldn't call him injury prone, but he
Yeah.
just gets hurt too much.
Yeah. So I want to talk about that in a second. But real
Yeah.
quick, I just want to point out some other notable moves they had.
Uh-huh.
They signed Javon Hargrave from the Steelers, who's going to be a huge addition to the
Yes.
defensive line. Nickel Roby Coleman is going to be a huge addition to their slot corner role. Traded for Darius Slay, signed Trevor Williams. I think they did a lot to improve their two weakest spots, which was corner and wide receiver.
Uh-huh.
The two picks I like a lot were John Hightower and Kayvon Wallace. John Hightower is like a Deshaun Jackson clone, but without like any of the hype or like, I don't want to say production because he did a lot in Boise State, but I don't think he's going to be Deshaun Jackson. He's just like the same mold of player.
Yeah.
And then Kayvon Wallace is a beast. I love him.
Yeah, they definitely added a ton of talent on offense, which I mean, if they didn't, I think every single fan in Philly would have probably moved somewhere else and taken their fan base somewhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, he had nobody last year. I mean, most of that had to do with Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson being hurt, but I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah, now they're stacked. It's going to be a good year for him if he stays healthy.
Yeah. Let's talk about that, his health.
Yeah. So shout out to our boy Nate Eichner. He like shared something on Instagram, and me and him had a conversation about it. And it was somebody trying to say that Carson Wentz is not injury prone, which I completely disagree with.
Mm-hmm.
And the
You
basis,
think he is?
yeah, I think he is. So, but I might have a different definition of injury prone than most people do. I would say any player who has multiple injuries over multiple seasons is injury prone, whether or not they re-aggravate the same injury multiple times or not. I don't know if that's what you would say is injury prone or not, but that'd be my definition.
Yeah. No, I just think with his injuries, like, I think I don't want to say it's been fluky, but I mean, I just feel like it's not, like, I would call RG3 injury prone. Just because, like, what's happened to him, I mean, he's always hurt, whether it's like, he, obviously tore his ACL a bunch. Nothing you can really do about that. Once you come back from that, it's just kind of downhill. Yeah. But then, breaking his ribs, he's just always getting hurt. And I just feel like Carson Wentz, I think his concussion last year or whatever knocked him out of that playoff game in the first quarter, that was fluky. He was diving for a touchdown and somebody speared him in the helmet. I don't know. I mean, every single player in the NFL, if they got speared in the helmet like that, would be hurt and have a concussion. So I don't want to say it's like, but then you can also raise the question, like, what are you doing diving in the end zone? If you know you have struggled with injuries, don't do that. Don't go head first. So, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't call him injury prone yet. If he gets hurt this year and like it's a significant injury, I'm right there with you. He's injury prone.
All of his injuries are freak accidents because of stuff like that. Like he's just trying to do too much. And that even goes back to his days at North Dakota State. Like he was injured a lot. I think Easton Stick quarterbacked both of his like national championship teams that Carson Wentz won, just like Nick Foles quarterbacked his Super Bowl team because of him getting injured. But the main reason why I disagree with that article that Nate shared is because the person's basis for Carson Wentz not being injury prone is, let me see if I can find it again real quick. I know for sure two of the quarterbacks that he said actually were injury prone was Jimmy Garoppolo and Deshaun Watson. And I was like so upset by that.
I would disagree with Watson. Like,
I disagree with both. They both had like 2 season-ending injuries, and that was it.
Yeah.
So here's the list. So it's Big Ben missing 17, Cam Newton missing 17, Garoppolo missing 13, Watson missing 9, Rodgers missing 9, and Wentz missing 8.
Yeah.
Which, like, Wentz got hurt 3 or 4 times plus North Dakota State. Meanwhile, I don't even remember the last time Aaron Rodgers got injured. Obviously, he has. He's missed 9 games in the last 4 years.
I think. 2017.
Yeah. Watson played till like week 8 and then missed the rest of the season. Garoppolo played till week 3 and then missed the rest of the season. Cam Newton's injury prone. I'm not going to argue that one. And then Big Ben missed all of last season. So like your argument for Wentz not being injury prone is 4 quarterbacks who have had season-ending injuries early in the season and then haven't got injured since. So I just thought it was a really flawed argument.
Yeah, I'll say, I keep my opinion the same. If he gets hurt this year and it's significant, then yeah, there's some concerns about his health and like if you can really trust him. And I think they know that. That's why they drafted Jalen Hurts. I mean, when they did, and that surprised everybody, including myself. I wanted Jalen Hurts to get drafted by the Steelers and take over for Big Ben.
That'd been fun.
Yeah, it would have been very fun. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's good when he's on the field. I mean, he's going to be a fantasy, perspective. He's going to be a really good fantasy quarterback this year with all the speed they have,
Yeah.
and with year 2 Miles Sanders
Yeah.
underway.
He's super underrated. So I'm excited to see what he does
Yeah,
this year if he stays healthy.
yeah, he is. So real quick, I don't have this jotted down, but I'm just interested to hear your opinion. How do you think they're going to use, if they do, Jalen Hurts in the offense? Like probably not Taysom Hill,
I
right?
don't know. I want to. Who was it? Was it the Ravens last year, who like had Hurts or not Hurts, RG3 and Jackson on the field at the same time,
Yeah.
and they like ran passing plays where like Jackson passed to Hurts and then like Hurts passed again or something, or not Hurts. I keep saying Hurts, or RG3 passed again or something like that.
Yeah,
I could see them using him in like that role
yeah,
because he's definitely a better passer than Taysom Hill, definitely
Yeah.
a better runner than Taysom Hill. But Taysom Hill's like the gadget player who can do everything. So it's just gonna be interesting.
yeah. And I mean, he's there for the future, and just in case, because we've said this on the podcast before. You're only as good as your worst quarterback. So it's like, if Wentz goes down again and they're super good and they have a good record, they don't
Yeah.
want to. I mean, listen, they're the team that won a Super Bowl with a backup quarterback.
Yep.
So it just makes them, now that Foles is gone, it just makes them know that, hey, let's go get a guy. Let's go get a guy that can be good.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else about this Eagles team? Want to talk about Miles
do.
Sanders at all?
I think he's gonna have a huge step this year. I'm a big fan of him.
Me too.
We were joking around earlier. It might have been earlier today. It might have been yesterday about how I've been playing Madden ever since we talked about the Madden ratings episode. And I just did a draft with him as my running back, and I'm just like feeding the ball
Yeah.
nonstop, like 20 something carries a game, and he's getting passing touches too. And dude's a beast in Madden at least.
Yeah. For speaking in fantasy terms, I heard I was listening to the fantasy or the CBS Sports Fantasy Football podcast of the day, and they did a mock draft, and I think it's Dave Richard. He took him 7th overall in the draft, and I just listen. I like him. He's on a good offense, but just knowing Doug Peterson's history with using multiple running backs, Boston Scott was really good last year. I know it's funny, but he was good when he had the chance, and mainly because of injuries. But I
Yeah.
mean, he's going to be the second running back if they don't sign anybody. I know there's been rumors with Devontae Freeman, and there was rumors a couple weeks ago with Carlos Hyde, but now he's in Seattle. Who knows? I mean, there's still a couple guys out there. There's who else? Devontae Freeman, and there's I can't remember. Lamar Miller is still out there. So that's somebody that a lot of people forget about too. So it'll be interesting to see what Doug Peterson does. If Miles Sanders is the main back week 1, which I think he's going to be the main back regardless of who they sign, but if they don't bring in another running back to this roster week 1, Miles Sanders is going to be insane in this offense.
Yeah. He's got the talent to be top 7. I don't think he's going to get the workload to be top 7.
That's the issue. Yeah, he has all the talent in the world. I mean, he could literally be a top 5 running back if he was on an offense that just he was the workhorse or the bell cow and that was it. We just don't think it's going to happen with Doug Peterson. He never does.
Yeah.
Brought in Jay Ajayi. He had Jordan Howard and all these slew of running backs last year. Darren Sproles. I mean, he's always mixed in Darren Sproles.
That's another thing too. That's another position that's been super injured for them, and that's why they brought in so many running backs. Maybe if Sanders stays healthy, he's like, we got our guy. We
Hopefully.
haven't seen him with a healthy star running back.
I know a lot of people are saying, oh, well, he was the workhorse last year down the stretch and he performed really good. Well, everybody was hurt. So it's just like, you can't say that because if everybody was healthy and he just benched everybody and used Sanders, that's one thing. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. If he's the starter and he's the only guy in that backfield week 1, I want a lot of shares of him.
Yeah.
Anything before we move on to the worst team ever?
No, I'm ready to talk about the Washington
I want to
Redskins.
throw up first. The Washington Redskins.
Yeah.
I don't even know what's going on here. The biggest question for me is not only what's going on in the backfield, just mainly the offense, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it'll be interesting to see what Ron Rivera and his new offensive, coaching staff can do to this offense.
Yeah. I don't even know where to start. They might be the only team to add Chase Young this offseason and not get better.
I was thinking the same thing.
I like the low risk draft picks of Sadiq Charles and Antonio Gandy Golden. They were 2 guys I wanted the Giants to target late.
Yeah.
But Gibson, how are they going to use him? They already have a crowded backfield.
Yeah.
And then Keith Ishmael should be solid, but again, I don't think it was a need. They could have used the picks better. And why the heck did they wait so long to trade Trent Williams?
I don't know.
They traded Trent Williams and got Antonio Gandy Golden for him when they could have traded Trent Williams and potentially got Jedrick Wills or somebody like that, or maybe even like a second-round tackle.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, the whole team is weird, and I mean, we have to give Ron Rivera the benefit of the doubt, though. I mean,
Yeah.
he has a good track record. He's been pretty productive wherever he's been at, but I don't know. I just don't think this team is built to be competitive this year at all. Even adding Chase Young, like you said, they didn't really get any better.
Yeah.
Um, the interesting thing for me, and it'll be crazy I want to see what you think about it. You know, Dwayne Haskins was their top pick in 2019 draft,
Yeah.
and he played last year. I mean, he was not very good at all. I mean, he missed Terry McLaurin on at least three wide open touchdown passes
Yeah.
last year. I mean, that's another thing. That's another conversation. If Terry McLaurin catches those, and if they're catchable, we're talking about him in a completely different light in fantasy terms. But Dwayne Haskins just wasn't super good. As soon as Ron Rivera gets the job, he goes out and he trades for Kyle Allen, who was the starting
Yep.
quarterback all last season. So to me, I don't think that means Allen's going to start. But I think Dwayne Haskins has a shorter leash than we thought, and I don't think
Yeah.
he's not Rivera's guy.
Yeah. I think it's also interesting that they haven't cut Alex Smith yet, which like I understand it's probably cap implications, but
Yeah,
dude's probably not playing anyway, so like you're wasting money either way keeping him. And then
Yeah.
they signed Steven Montez as a UDFA, who was a lot of people's like, this is your traits guy you bet on type of guy. So it's gonna be interesting. And then I'm looking at their depth chart now because I know they made some good signings defensively speaking. And I just saw that their two offensive picks for their line in the draft are both listed at third string options. So like they're not even gonna play probably.
Ron Rivera's like, you guys got to earn it
Yeah,
on a team that needs to just put all their best players out there and win some games and get some confidence and move forward.
literally.
You guys got to earn it. I feel like
Their
it's like
defensive
a high
line's
school
good.
coach.
Yeah. Their defense will probably be good, honestly. Just kind of looking at it. I knew that they made some good signings with Kendall Fuller
Yep.
and Ronald Darby. And then bringing Thomas Davis gives the people that familiarity with Rivera's scheme. They have a good linebacking core, Reuben Foster, Cole Holcomb. We just talked about Davis Jr.
Mhm.
And then the weak spot on their defense that I'm seeing right now is just free safety. Everywhere else looks pretty solid. They have Troy Apke, who's like, you're probably thinking like, who the heck is that?
Mhm.
But he like ran, I want to say like a 4.3 40 last year. So he's got the range to go with Collins' like hit stick ability.
Uh-huh.
But they
Yeah.
just terrible team.
I don't know what's going on. Yeah. Like I said, you got to give them the benefit of the doubt with the new coaching staff. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing at running back. They have like 25 running backs on their roster, and all of them
Wouldn't say
could be
that.
a threat to get some type of work in a game.
Yeah.
Darius Geis has just been cursed. I don't
He's
want to
listed
touch
as a
him.
starter right now. So
Yeah.
hopefully he stays healthy.
That dude's NFL career has just been cursed. The thing that I'm most excited about is, like we said, they added Antonio Gibson. It'll be weird to see how they use him. Antonio Gandy Golden is good. They have Steven Sims as their other receiver, who came on towards the end of last year. He was pretty solid. But Terry McLaurin, he's so good. He's one of those players, I just wish he was on a better team because he's so
Yeah.
good and he's held back. Um, I thought I saw an interesting stat from him last season, and this could be talking in terms of fantasy and kind of what you think about him. Obviously, I don't like drafting guys that are on really bad offenses and don't have like competent quarterbacks. But this is interesting. In 2019, his rookie season, Terry McLaurin had 38.9% of his team's total passing touchdowns in 2019. So that ranked fourth in the entire NFL. And he was a rookie. And then he also ranked sixth in the entire NFL as he had 28.6 of his team's total passing yards accounted for. So, I mean, they really didn't bring any, high volume threat. I mean, unless you think Antonio Gandy Golden's going to step in and like
Yeah.
be the leader. This is the guy. It's just a matter of can the quarterback get him the ball or not.
Yeah. The thing I don't like about him as far as fantasy value wise, he had 93 targets and he only caught 58 of them. Which I guarantee part of
yeah.
that's Haskins just having bad throws.
Totally.
But still, that's a lot of volume to have only 58 catches.
Yeah. And it was a weird. I mean, he was in between different quarterbacks. I know they started. I forgot who they started. It was I'm blanking right now. It was the old.
Started with Smith, and then
Smith got hurt in 20. I think Smith got hurt in 2018, and then 2019 they started with the Vikings guy. He was the Vikings quarterback during the Minneapolis Miracle.
Case Keenum.
Case Keenum. They started with him last year, and then moved to Dwayne Haskins. So I mean, I'm not saying like, oh, Scary Terry is Devontae Parker at situation 2.0. I'm not saying that. It's just similar in the fact that like he starts his career on a team that's just not very good. You don't have a lot of competent quarterbacks. There's a lot of change, and it's just you're talented, but you're held back by it. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he's really stinking good, and I'd love to see him go to a. Oh, dude, if he was on the freaking Texans, that would be insane.
Yeah, he fits into. We talked about this last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was. It was last week, I think, because we talked about the NFC West last week and DeAndre Hopkins. He kind of fits into that small, shifty, quick like mold that we're talking about. It seems like the Texans are going for. Mm-hmm. So he could put up big numbers for them if he were, like you were saying.
Do you have anything you want to add?
No, I was just going to say, like, between Haskins probably not progressing and whatever's going on at left tackle for them, that's going to be their two things that hold them back the most. The defense is pretty solid.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs.
I don't
think
either.
They're going to sniff the playoffs.
No, I think they're going to be in contention for the number 1 pick next year.
Yeah, well, hey, all the power to them.
Right? Scares me. I don't want to see Trevor Lawrence in the NFC East.
Dude,
don't want to see that.
Ron Rivera is 100% drafting Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, even if oh man, I'm forgetting the name of the owner right now. But even if he says I want Justin Fields or Trey Lance, Rivera's going to take Trevor Lawrence and say deal with it.
100%, and he should. He has a good track record. It speaks for itself.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that's all we have for the podcast today. Next week we'll be right back here, same time, same place. We'll be talking about the AFC, so we'll be breaking through all that after going through some weekly rapid-fire topics. So we hope you guys enjoy your Memorial Day. Spend some time with friends and family. Hopefully where you're at, it's not raining like it is in South Florida. But make sure to follow us on Twitter at TJ Shriano and at Alex Burns Hoops, and then also at ATS Football Pod. As always, guys, enjoy football. See ya.
See you guys.